That's better than a concert.
Side by side.
You never know what I may actually do.
Horses are too dangerous when you get older. Oh, I know. Even my son.
All right, we can get the meeting today started. First item, it would be approval of the agenda.
I
Have
so
a
move
motion.
that we approve the agenda.
Motioned and
A second.
seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then the next item of business is going to be approval of the minutes from June 14th, 2022. And if anyone has anything that they haven't already sent to staff.
I move we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, no consent agenda items today and no administrative session items as well. So today on the legislative session, we have 3 items and they're all kind of related. Are they going to be presented together or separately? Okay. Then we'll turn the time over to you. I'm assuming you're presenting.
We can open and close at the same time.
All right. So these 3 items kind of piggyback on each other. The first item is for a request to, by Springville City, to amend the general plan, designate the parcels 26,050,0042, 26,050,0041, 26,050,0040, and 26,049,0051, which are located at the southeast quadrant of the intersection of I-15 and 1600 South, also known as the Santana property, to commercial upon its annexation into Springville City. So,
It helped me to know that that was the
yeah, so
raceway.
these are the 4
I
parcels.
saw that, I was like, oh, the raceway.
And if you kind of see by, I-15, 1600, and those are the 4 parcels that are included in this. Secondary to that, the city is requesting that the recommendation for a new zoning district. In the initial public hearing notice, it was described as the South Regional Commercial Zone. We felt that there would be a better name, so we are calling it the Regional Retail Commercial Zone, and that is outlined further in the packet. And then finally, it will be a request to apply that zone to the above stated parcels upon annexation into the city. Okay, so, oops, I kind of went too fast. So as I said, these are the 4 parcels. Now, I may have to rely on Josh to answer some questions. The background on this, so the parcels are not within the city boundaries, but they are owned by the city. I am not sure how that came to be, and so if you have questions about that, I'll have to defer that question to Josh. They are instead part of the unincorporated portion of Utah County. And so, as owner of record, we have been approached about developing those properties, but since they are not within the boundaries, we would have limitations on the zoning, all of that type of thing would be going to the Utah County. And so we are requesting that as the property owner to annex those into the city, so we'll have a little bit more control over how those parcels are used. In addition, as they are being developed, the city would want to capture additional revenue, either through property tax or sales tax revenue that would come from any development on those properties, rather than that being going to the county. So it just makes sense that those parcels, we own them, they should be within the city limits. So currently,
One quick question,
Go ahead.
though. So does that mean that they have not been annexed as of yet? So
No.
have they applied for the annexation?
yes, and that is within your packet. There was a resolution passed on April 18th of this year. And then, it was adopted and passed on May 3rd of this year, accepting for further consideration the petition for annexation.
So just in case there would be some listening, that would just maybe that point of clarification.
Yes, and so the annexation application has been submitted to the city and the county by the city as the petitioner or the property owner, which is standard. The property owner has to begin the process for annexation request.
When do we anticipate that to occur?
The first council meeting in August.
Yeah, which will be August 2nd.
So that's coming right
Yeah,
up.
so
in the
that
next-
will
We
be the
don't make
next one.
recommendations on annexation. That's just
No.
the, yeah, for the zoning and the,
Zoning,
in the
once those
general
are
map.
annexed in, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want to apply a zone to it when it comes in, and they want your recommendation.
Yeah.
You need to make a recommendation.
yeah.
Yes,
But just point of clarification.
Yeah.
Planning
Yeah, so it's
commission doesn't
kind
make
of-
recommendations about annexation.
I wouldn't say the cart's
just
ahead
on the
of the
zoning,
horse.
yeah.
It might just be kind of running next to
Mhm.
the cart. Just so that when the annexation is passed, which we're assuming that it will be on August 2nd, that these kind of logistical zoning issues are already taken care of and ready to
Great.
go. Okay? So,
One
yes.
question. So the white space between the unincorporated area and the sliver that comes up at Spanish Fork, who owns that property?
that is, I don't know who,
That's the Williams family and the Schwartz family.
yeah.
Would there be any advantage as we're doing this to try and incorporate all of that into the city?
We have no way to get to that property.
Because of the railway.
At the moment, we're not interested in having it come into Springville because you can't access it through Springville.
Okay,
And furthermore, the rail line that you see to the east
right,
will be realigned and
Whoops.
connect at the rail line on the west at that crossing right at the corner of the subject property. So that interior unincorporated area actually becomes even more.
more, okay, yeah. All right.
Yeah, so,
We've been approached by and had discussions with property owners and people representing the property owners in that area. So, yeah,
There's no advantage to it,
there's no advantage to
Okay.
us because we can't get to it.
okay.
thanks, Josh. And then, of course, Spanish Fork, which looks a little like a person right here. And,
It does.
yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah. So Spanish Fork here with our boundaries here. So this will, this is,
Now I
of
can't
course,
stop seeing it.
Springville City here. So it will be contiguous and we will have access to it. And then, so this is the zoning that is in existence in the adjacent land. This, once it, and they mirror each other, Industrial 1 for Spanish Fork, and the city, or excuse me, the county has the same nomenclature for Industrial 1. And then the section that we are looking at, like I said, would be more of a regional commercial area.
Is industrial one similar to our industrial light manufacturing?
Yes, it does allow for a few more, for a little bit more intensity of
Oh, okay.
industrial, but very similar. And then their conditional uses, very similar to ours for both the county and Spanish Fork. And so not completely inconsistent with what we were doing overall for this area.
If we recommend the zoning or,
Yes, if we recommend the zoning. The one thing is as you will look through the amended land use matrix that is proposed, we did kind of focus more on true retail rather than what the regional commercial outlines in our zoning ordinance. And that is because we specifically, as the mayor and city administration, once again, Josh may be able to chime in on some of the history of this, for it to be kind of one of those large retail, car dealerships, boats, campers, those kinds of items for sale, rather than the regional commercial that we may see developing that would include Target or small or retail stores. These are more your big ticket items that is planned ongoing here. In fact, you'll see it referred to often throughout as Santana. They are a group that has approached the city about coming into that area, and they are RV sales, I believe. So, those big ticket items. Part of the rationale for that is also that we want, much like, and not that this will become it, but I think it's probably the easiest for people to recognize, right off the freeway in Draper, Larry H. Miller, their big auto row there. So that's the kind of retail that is looking to go here. I jokingly wrote to Josh and John when we were doing this and trying to explain what I was thinking there, that this wouldn't be like, oh, hey, we just bought an RV, let's go shop in that cute little boutique store over there. Although they're both retail, they're very different in nature. And we want this to be an area that people would see off of the freeway when they're shopping, it would almost be like a destination, like, hey, I'm going to go to Draper to go to Larry H. Miller and Auto Row. I'm going to go down to Springville because they've got a really well-known location for me to shop for that kind of high-end item. And of course, with the idea of revenue to the city with those sales tax. So that's pretty much the background and the rationale. I've kind of skipped over a little bit of both. So as far as the land use, if you look at the analysis, the general plan has the overall goal is to create a safe and functional and attractive community that preserves the best of our past and shapes our future development in a way that benefits all people of our community, quote unquote. By developing this commercial corridor, bringing it into the city, and of course the city providing services to that, by allowing this type of retail development to come onto it, we're not passing the cost of annexing and the services that need to be provided as part of that onto the residents, but let that instead be covered by the retail sales, the property tax, and that type of revenue coming in. It fits very well with the nature along the freeway interchange, especially with the construction of 1600 South coming in along there, and will be a good gateway as it moves as it moves east, and the type of retail does become more of that, hey, let's go grab, I can go to Target and then go grab something in another small retail. So that's the kind of retail that I think we'll see as we move east towards along the corridor, the 1600 South corridor, with this being a bit more of the big ticket items. It does not prevent restaurants or drive-throughs from coming in there, as Associated uses, quick off the freeway, grab something to eat. And in addition, the new zone would meet the objectives of providing commercial uses that are complementary to the existing and future uses along there, and most accurately will reflect the nature and purpose of the zone by changing it to regional retail commercial rather than the South Gateway. And then the recommendation, of course, to apply those allows us to maintain the flexibility of commercial development within the parameters of existing commercial zoning, but with just a little bit more targeted to actual sales tax revenue, whereas regional commercial allows for more wide uses of office and service type commercial. This is a greater focus on retail to capture that sales tax revenue. So your recommended motions are there. Motions to recommend approval of the request to amend the general plan to designate the identified parcels located at the southeast quadrant of the intersection of I-15 and 1600 South, also known as the Santana property, to commercial upon its annexation into Springville. Motion to recommend approval of the request to adoption of the new commercial zone to be known as the regional retail commercial zone. And then the motion to recommend approval of the request to apply that zone to those parcels. So one thing that you will probably want to look over closely and make any recommendations, like I said, I may have got a little edit happy in looking at the land use matrix and crossing out some uses, but I did focus mainly on those that are retail producing, sales tax producing types of uses. And so making any changes to those as to what you may see is more appropriate or less appropriate, however you see fit. We did allow for hotel and motel right there off the freeway. Also sales tax and transit room tax generating items that would also be of benefit to the city. So that's pretty much all I have. So as you'll see, will be the proposed, this is the general plan, the land use general plan that is in the general plan map that is in there. And we will have this little area that will come in, and that will be the amendment to the map. The general plan itself does not need a text amendment, just a zoning ordinance. And we'll have all the setbacks and site regulations the same as the regional commercial. We don't want to overcomplicate things.
With the inclusion of tire sales, was that specifically included?
I kind of focused on, once again, items that can be larger ticket items. Maybe that came from after spending the day at Les Schwab and getting my tires changed and realizing that tires have become a big ticket item. Associated with vehicles, the types of RVs that may be coming in. It's completely up to you if you want to leave that out or however, it was just kind of looking at those kind of large items that would come in. That may not work, that may not work so well next to your more maybe clothing-oriented retail or, like the grocery stores, multi-use stores, but would not appear out of character in this area.
We've got convenience stores and convenience store with gas sales. Drugstore, pharmacy?
No, I left those off simply because since we have those within the center of the community, those tend to be things that members of your community are doing rather than someone pulling off the freeway who isn't from this area. So I kind of, that was kind of my thinking, was that those are used more by your local community and keep those closer to where you have a larger residential population rather than having to jet down to that area to go to the pharmacy. Mm-hmm. Once again, not a problem adding it in, but that was just my rationale and thought process. With convenience stores, close off the freeway, quick to come in, yes, exactly. Grab some gas, grab something to eat. Also, often they will have agreements with car dealerships to provide fill-ups or whatever when items are purchased.
I think you did a good job.
Thanks.
Looks nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Was there any thought with like the tire recapping and retreading shops? Because they are often at the same place that they sell tires?
Yeah, and I don't know. I was kind of, I didn't have a strong feeling or rationale one way or the other. To me, that seemed a little bit more automotive repair type. And so that is why I didn't. But I really don't have any good justification or rationale as to why it should not be included if you feel that it should be.
Okay.
I agree with that, 'cause it's more of an industrial use. Really, the only tires you're recapping or retreading are large equipment. Kind of, you don't do that with light-duty truck or car tires.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of a big, dirty industrial operation.
Okay.
Oh, Johnson
Yeah.
Tire used to have, I don't know if still they do, they had in their store here in town a recap. They used to recap tires, large industrial tires, trucks, different things
I don't
in
think
the
they
back
do
of the
that
shops. I
anymore.
don't know if they still do it, but
Yeah,
In
I'm just
fact,
not
they-
familiar with it enough to
they-
know if it
And that
would be
was, that was
separate
kind of
from.
my thought as well, Genevieve. I wasn't familiar well with it enough to be able to say one way or the other. I kind of just went with my gut instinct that all I thought of was large semis coming in to recap their tires or whatever, and that was not, it did seem a little bit more industrial in nature. But once again, you know, that would be a decision that, however you felt, if it would be best served.
Did you have something else, Commissioner Farr?
No, I was just gonna say, they don't do recaps anymore because it's the liability
Oh,
on commercial, on retail, I mean, just on regular passenger cars.
okay.
Good to know.
That's good to know. That's helpful. Anything else, Carla?
I don't have anything else unless, except to answer if you had any questions, but other than that, I am done.
Okay,
Are we good? Okay.
thank you. You want to speak for the petitioner, Josh? I know. Since the city is the petitioner, then we'll just move on to the public hearing. If anyone has anything that they would like to,
Do we need to open it, or, I guess we don't.
you don't have to
Just
open
close.
it with a vote, just close it with a vote. Yeah.
I would move that we close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye?
Aye. And I didn't say specifically, though, that we don't have to do one for each of them. Can we do them all for one, all together, or do we have to have each item its individual? That's what it was. It was all, them all together. Unless anyone else has any, desire to have separate public hearings for those. Any other discussion?
I do have just one quick question though, for Josh. I assume on some of these other properties, as we move east, we'll be having very similar discussions in the future.
Yes, we'll be having a lot of discussion as we bring forward the 1600 South area plan.
Are we gonna wait for requests to come in, or do we wanna be proactive and try to jump ahead of the curve?
And so, yeah, we are being proactive in that we're doing that plan now, and we're actually working towards the regulating plan at the moment. That's kind of the stage we're at. And we anticipate that once we get that plan in place, the city will move proactively towards aligning the zoning and crafting new zoning as needed to implement that plan.
And then we will kind of partner with Spanish Fork for that little piece that they have in between us? Or will we?
We're working our primary goal is to rationalize the city boundary, because right now it basically follows property lines and ditches and doesn't follow where Canyon Creek Parkway will actually come and intersect to meet up with 1200 West at 1600 South. So that's our primary interest, is that and aligning our transportation infrastructure. Spanish Fork has already made some substantial decisions and moves regarding land use and zoning in that area. They completed a plan in that area I believe in the spring of last year or even the previous year. But we have been, that's part of the process, is interacting with them and coordinating and making sure that our roads make sense and that our boundaries make sense.
Good.
What's the current timing on the 1600 exchange or interchange?
So construction on the ramps and the frontage roads was anticipated to get underway fall of this year, but they're not ready with that bid package, so it will start spring of 22, and the project will finish up late 25.
Okay,
Spring of 23.
yeah,
Spring of 23.
Yep.
You add a year when you cross in
I
January.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're 3+ years out for full completion on that project.
okay. thank you. Well, I'd entertain a motion if someone had one.
Okay. I'll move to recommend the approval of the request to amend the general plan to those designated parcels known as the Santana property to commercial upon its annexation to Springville City, and move to recommend the approval of the request to adopt a new commercial zoning district known as the Regional Retail Commercial Zone, and to approve the text amendments to the Springville City commercial zoning districts to include regional retail and the inclusion of the regional retail commercial zone and associated permitted and conditional uses to the Springville City Code 114301 land use matrix. Also,
Yeah, separate motions.
okay, they were all number one on my list here, so well, that's the way it shows. They're number one, and then there's a second number one.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Just a computer glitch.
So we'll discuss first the first motion to recommend approval of the amend the general plan.
Okay.
So we have a motion to, and do we have
And
a
I'll
second?
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then considering the motion to recommend approval to adopt a new commercial zoning district known as the Regional Retail Commercial Zone, the motion's put forward by Commissioner Farr
I'll second it again.
and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then the third motion to recommend approval to apply the regional retail commercial zone to this parcel of lands. We have a motion from Commissioner Farr and
Again, I'll second.
seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that is all that we have for those. Anything else for the meeting today? Anyone? If not,
Madam Chair, I move that we close the meeting.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much.